all, we already had an RCA earlier this evening that we were
Right.
gonna use money.
I made a note on that too.
Yeah, and plus, we do pay for some publications. Not everything is free, because we do put notices for like the pet clinic and the recycling and that in other papers besides just the record, because, so we can get it out to more people. So there is money being spent out of that account too, so. So if we identify exactly how much signs are, towards the end of the year, we could, in November probably.
I think we can figure out what, if we want to get them and that we can find the amount.
Towards the
as long
end.
as
I think
we know
what
the
Corey's
amount
saying
is,
is,
right.
because once she knows what she's gonna be paying out the rest of the year, she'll know what's left in the budget.
Mhm.
So the key right now is to get cost, what it's gonna cost us, and then figure out where we're gonna fund it.
Well, and odds are right now it'd be probably cheaper and easier to get them not this time of year than during spring and summer months.
Yeah.
I think it's still time and material, doesn't matter. You may, during the winter months, they may get them quicker because
Yeah.
there's less
Yeah.
construction going on, but the cost will be the same.
Do they just use sandbags to hold them down? Is that what they typically do?
Yep.
I have one I think they forgot about in Ramsey, we could maybe take it and modify it.
That's been there forever.
Yeah, but it's been a couple of years down there by the daycare. Because when we had this discussion last time, that's the picture I took, was the one at the
Still
daycare. It's still there.
Just put a Nalum sticker on the back of it over to the Ramsey sticker.
Yeah.
So,
We just put our phone number over there,
Yeah.
or we could have them call and say, sure, I'll look into that. All right, so we need to get a cost of the signs. So this RCA should probably be for somebody directing somebody. You know, if Paul wants to contact is it your neighbor, or contact his neighbor and say, using Ramsey's as a pattern, what would this cost, time and material? We can check with Elk River, check with the county, and I don't know if Ramsey's got their own sign shop, does anybody know? Check with our neighboring communities and get a cost estimate, and then we'll take a look for funding and move this to the next meeting. All right. And Councilmember Bryan again.
Mr. Mayor, one of the things that I just noticed that and wanted to bring to the council was to find out what do we want to do with the website. I've just, noticed that there have been some places that hadn't been updated in a while, and if we're gonna take advantage of the website and use it, then, I wanted to talk to the council about to see if that's what we wanna do. There's, certainly, more functionality that's available on the website that we could take advantage of. I took the opportunity to call and just talk to the internet provider to see what services are. And what I did find out is that whether it was intentional or unintentional, the layout for our documents would be very difficult to maintain, because you have to upload each individual file. So if you have one document in 5 different spots, you have to upload that same document 5 different times.
And there's a remedy to that?
The remedy
With
to
our
that would
current
be
provider?
to look at, potentially redesigning that document part so that a document would only be posted once.
Well, it's a function of your programming of your website. Right now, all the pages on our website are static pages, which are individual pages. So if you put a document on there, it's a static page. The way you do that is you create a database within the website so that that database then goes and picks that one document from the database wherever you have it
Populates it
assigned
wherever.
and populate that.
My question is this something that our provider provides? Because I don't think it's something Corey or Lori are gonna do. They're not gonna create the database. So is this a feature of our current website provider?
The functionality that our current website provider would provide would be what we already have now, and would be rearranging the pages. And there's no extra website cost to do that.
But how about populating if you have a document that shows up in multiple places.
We'd probably have to look at a different way of doing it, like using hyperlinks of some sort, or providing a link to the main document page, so that you'd have one page with all the documents listed. So then if you only had, then you'd only end up uploading it one time. So our current website, the provider doesn't allow for a database structure.
So what you're asking is to patch what we have until we can afford to do something like Paul was indicating here.
Well,
A better solution.
it's mainly what do we as a council want to do with the website? Well, some of the other things it does offer would be, it has the ability to do surveys, it has the ability to do forms. Hey, there's a pothole here. Fill out a form, click a button, and it sends an email to whomever we want, whether it be Joe or whomever, or a
Well, let me-
complaint or that
let
kind
me-
of stuff.
Let me ask, Corey, obviously a lot of this falls back on your team, the two of you.
Yeah, I just have, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Well, so I want to, looking at what's on here, it seems some pretty logical things on here. How would you like to proceed on this? And now going back to some of our conversations we had before, working with staff first before we issue an edict. So what can we do between you and Lori and anybody on the council that's appropriate to help, or anybody else you see is appropriate to help? How do we get to a more effective website?
Well, I think we can look into some of those factors. I tend to not believe that it's not gonna be costing us more money.
Okay.
Because we've got the lowest, cheapest, and we talked about this with the amount of documents it even holds. That if we wanna add more documents or videos and stuff, we would have to increase the volume to it, which would cost us more money.
Okay.
So I know that we do have the cheapest, but we can certainly look at some of the,
From my conversation with them, this is what was included. It's what we were paying for now, at that level.
right.
Mhm.
The other thing is the staff time in getting the website updated. With the meeting minutes, we have been inundated with meeting minutes. Lori has had a meeting every single week this month, and she's just finally finishing them up. Now you guys gotta give us priorities. What is more important to you guys? Would you rather have us focus primarily on always getting the website up to date, or do you want the meeting minutes on time? With the two staff people and all the other interruptions and the day-to-day operations, or do we hire somebody that just works on the website?
I think there's two considerations. What I'm seeing here is maybe a one-time or an occasional fix. And what you're talking about is the actual uploading of information. So I think, Dan, if I'm understanding this right, you're looking at, can we fix the website we have so it's more efficient? So when information is uploaded, you don't have to put it in 5 different places manually. Is that what I'm hearing? You're trying to fix the structure to begin with, and then we'll talk about how we keep the content current.
If we want to maintain the website, it would certainly be worth looking into to have it where it's easier to maintain.
Okay, so your initial request here is, let's figure out how to make it easier to maintain. And then we can have the discussion of, can you keep up with the maintenance, or do we need additional?
Right, because that's not what I'm reading out of his RCA.
Yeah, that's not what
I'm reading that there's a bunch of things that are outdated, and maybe we need to have staff do the training, which I've already done, and allowing them to make it easier, but that's how I'm reading it, is more of, let's not do that, let's.
And after I put that in, I did have the conversation with the provider and going, I just wanted to understand, how does this get maintained? And he walked through it, and I go, oh, well, then we obviously have that issue, because the documents have to be posted
Yeah,
3 times in 3 different spots.
right.
All right, so if not following strictly what you're saying here. But my interpretation of what we need first to do is fix what we can on the website to make this more efficient, more possible,
Friendly.
user-friendly. Should we start there before we go and try and fix things in an old broken system? Can we do what we can to repair the system to make it more user-friendly and more efficient to do? And then ask Corey to come up with a schedule on when we can get these things updated. Would that make more sense?
And actually, we could probably potentially do them both at the same time.
And
If there's an updated document, we'd have to repost it anyway to this, I think, to this new page, and so then it'll be current.
does that sound more reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, it does, but it still is very time consuming to even get the stuff uploaded. I mean, you do the meeting agendas and packets, and you have to get those uploaded. Every time there's new minutes done, and then it's like, oh my gosh, did you remember the minutes? No, wait, I mean, it does become
But I think
overwhelming at times.
it certainly would be more helpful to
remember.
have this easier to use.
Yeah,
I think if you define how you want it to work, or, Randy Barney is very good IT. They could give you an estimate what it would cost probably to do some of the things. He could do a little research on it, but you could define what you want done and then ask them, is this something they'd be interested in, what would it cost? And they could probably set all them things up quite easily. He's got Chris Ellsburn that works for him. He used to work for the county doing that type of thing, all our internet files and linking them, and most of the files are in one spot, and you got, like you said, a hyperlink that, so when they click on it, that takes you to that PDF or whatever that they want to see. So they're very capable of doing that. So our staff, I think, is way behind already. We're getting our minutes, our P&Z minutes, we should really have before we have our council meeting, and we're getting them after the meeting. So they're behind already, and I don't want to try to stuff more things on their plate. They're busy.
I will say, I think it's been remarkable how well they've done. Some of the minutes of late, there have been more meetings, longer meetings. And there's been time off. So I think that's complicated things. I think we are getting minutes much faster than we ever have in the past. I think this is, I think Corey and Lori are doing a tremendous job. And I think we've got a hiccup here because of a variety of, the perfect storm of extra meetings and extra time off and things like that. So I will say, I think the updates on the website are much improved over years past, and the minutes being released in a draft form are coming out extremely fast. So we've had, like I say, a little setback currently, but up until now, I think it's been great. So, but I think, we're looking for a more efficient system, and whether, I agree, defining what we want done and getting a quote either from our current provider or outside, but define it so that we can be current with the information. I do think it's important that if there's any references to Burns Township or people that don't work here anymore or old information, we'd like to have our website brought up to date, but still be able to manage the workload we have.
and I can talk with the Gov office and ask them about the hyperlink stuff. But I do believe it's gonna be some time-consuming time to get that all figured out as well.
Would it be helpful, having Dan's had the conversation with him, if he joined with you and
He can just take it over, for all I'm concerned. I mean, he's already been in touch with them and he knows how the links are. I'd be glad to give him the password and he can go in there and get it all set up.
Well, and that's one thing, you can keep the password, but we can have multiple admins too.
Yeah,
Like you could have, not that, however you wanted to work out, the website can be split up and different people can maintain it too. So,
yeah.
I mean, I have no problem working on that, that's fun.
But it would be interesting to know what are the capabilities of our existing website? We know we are in the bottom level of it. Well, what does it take to go up 2 floors? What does that give us? What does it take to go up to the 4th floor? What does that give us?
Well, I think we can stay on the current floor and we get quite a bit.
And get more out of it,
Right,
that's
so-
fine too.
So let's maybe rewrite this RCA, and I don't know if we'll have the information to discuss on, or to decide on Tuesday, but it would be worthwhile, I think, to see what it would take to do this. As long as whatever you know, if the council authorizes Dan to work under your guidance on doing something, just so he's not running ahead of what you're comfortable with. But to figure out what the cost would be, and if it's something we can get done right away at low or no cost, it's something that we need to budget. But we've got a budget meeting coming up in like 2 weeks here, in a week and a half. And so it would behoove us to know what numbers we'd be talking about for something this year and something beginning of next year. But if you're willing to let Dan pursue that, as long as there's communication, I'd be willing to recommend that. So we know what we're getting into. I think it needs to be as user-friendly and easy for you and Lori to do.
Yeah,
Possible.
because it is a pain to have to download the same thing and.
And if we can't do that, then we need to figure out how to budget additional staff to do that. So you want to rewrite that accordingly and get that to Corey right away? And recycling contract and prevailing wage.
Mr. Mayor, I talked to Mike Corey, who's out of the office right now, and he's been working with the contractor as far as the contract. There was a couple of, just like in the one email, there was a couple of issues that the contractor had, and they worked all that out. But then the question of the prevailing wage came about. And Mike Corey talked to the county and talked with them and asked them, you know, is this state money that is required for prevailing wage? And they honestly could not give him an answer. So the question would be is, does the council want to, you know, given that it's under, I mean, the contract amount is under 50,000, we sent the contractor this prevailing wage information so that they could see, and there might not even be an issue at all anyways. But speaking with Mr. Bettinger, he didn't think that, because it wasn't part of the, what do you wanna say, the, application for the grant.
It wasn't defined in the application?
Yeah, it wasn't defined anywhere that they have to fall under the prevailing wage, then,
You know, I agree, because when we were doing the EDA, they were very specific about calling out prevailing wage and similar regulations. If we were dispersing any money, you know, the federal prevailing wage factored in on all of that,
right,
and the number of jobs created and everything else. And I would say, since it's not part of the county grant, and since the county, you know, somebody from the county attorney's office can't even determine it, it probably isn't a prevalent thing in the grants that they've been giving out.
right.
I would guess to say that if it was with larger grants than this, they give out some pretty significant grants, that Ms. Tim would have heard of it somewhere. Yes, we're doing that. And I would think contractors would be saying, we're looking at those prevailing wages, I think there'd be a howl somewhere. So to me, since the county attorney is unable to indicate that they've had to deal with this previously, and the grant application does not require it, to me, it would make sense that we don't require it. They didn't make it a stipulation on the funds.
No, there was nowhere in the application form that I ever remember seeing in that, so.
And I would think if the state's doing that, they pass it to the county passes it down, so. Anybody have a different opinion on that? So. All right.
So now, here's a question then, is that gonna be something that you guys are gonna motion next Tuesday? Is that we're gonna forego the prevailing wage requirement?
Well,
Or is it
who
just kind of
brought
a-
up the prevailing wage requirement?
Well, Bob Rupee, when he was the one who created this contract to begin with, and then he went on vacation, so then when the contractor finally got a chance to review it, that's when I've been in touch with Mike Corey.
And I would then say, in your conversation with Mike Corey, since he's cleaning up the the contract in Bob's absence and his correspondence with the county, I would have him, as he did with other portions of this, just delete it.
Okay.
Could wait and to see if contractor, if they don't have a problem with it, you can leave it
Well,
in there. But if
I
they
think
do,
that, I think the email said if it's gonna be enforced, he's gonna rethink the bid.
Rebid it.
but if he's paying them wages already, that may not be a problem, so. But
Right.
if he says it's a problem, if those will play up, then, yeah, remove it.
I
If he's
hate
paying
to
those
also
wages, I'm
hold
gonna
up
switch jobs.
anything
Well,
more
I guess
by
it-
renegotiating.
Yeah.
So, but, okay. That's what I kind of needed to know.
All right. Councilman Bryan. All right. Second that, meeting adjourned. For the
My
IT.
definition for providers. Okay, that, yeah, hosting provider. My internet provider is one company, my hosting.
It's a mess.